Hello, world. What's up? It is January 29th, Sunday afternoon, and that means it is time to hang out with Nico the Dreamer. I am Nico, and I'm here to hang out with you, and we are going to have a good old fantabulous-astic time tonight, day, afternoon. All right. Um, if you're here with me, this is my time that I share once a week that we can all connect and hang out and have a really nice time and a good vibe. And in short, this is my offering to the world that you get to spend some time with me and come into my mind and connect with where I'm at in the world. And we can talk about how to make the world a better place and make it awesome, full power, fantastic. And as you can see, I've come ready to roll and ready to ride today. I am fully geared up and styled out and wanting to bring a little bit of color into the vibe. So that's what it is, you know. I just wanted to create a little bit of a vibe of like, God bless the people that don't give a fuck about what other people think about them. So that's what it is. So I'm rocking my unicorn horn, I'm rocking my love goggles, and I got a special guest in the house today, but I'm not going to tell you quite yet who that is. And we're here to have a good old ass time, full power. Let's go. And that's all there is to it. I just want to bring on a good vibe and help to cultivate this space of like, yo, Sunday afternoon comes along, sports ball is on, but fuck that shit. I'll hang out with Nico. And we're going to have a good ass time. And we're going to talk about all the most amazing, powerful things in the world. And we're going to share our stories. And we're going to scheme on how to make the world a better place and how to defuse the Illuminati New World Order time bomb that they're trying to inflict upon us in this way and that way. And I follow the bouncing globe ball, dun 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 dun. Let's all go to the lobby. More commercials. Coca-Cola. Dun 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 dun. Toxic mess stew. Infinite, not awesome, amazing version. And we're gonna counteract that with love and good vibes, full power. So I hope you're picking up what I'm putting down because I'm feeling a good vibe and I want to share. And that's all there is to it. And I'm gonna give you a little bit of that extra energy right now because that's where I'm at with it. I just want good vibes. I've come a little somber the last couple weeks, and I think it's important to understand how serious this situation is in the world. There's some foul play at play, and we got to understand just how important it is to confront it in its own scope and in its own sphere, etc. In order to get the job done. But at the end of the day, the job is to create heaven on earth, peace on earth, counteract, counterfuse, defuse this ticking New World Order Illuminati time bomb that I rambled about a moment ago. And then get down to the business of celebrating the goodness of life in a natural and organic and loving and peaceful and healthy and happy and vibrant and smiling and laughing all the way to the bank of infinite abundance sort of way. So that's what's at stake here, and that's what we're doing. So if you read the description on my channel, there's one purpose for this channel is to help create and spread the vibration to create heaven on earth, period, full stop, end of story, point blank. That's what it is. We're going to bring peace to the world and we're going to create heaven on earth, end of story. And with our infinite manifestational power, that's all there is to it. So you can leave any conversations about that's not realistic or any of that stuff at the fucking door because that's what we're doing and I will have it no other way. And get on board because it is eminently feasible. The only thing stopping us from having heaven on earth right now is people, not being knuckleheads, basically. All of the problems of the earth are problems of people being jerks. Don't be a dick. Rule number one of life, don't be a dick. Rule number 1A, do your best. Do your best, don't be a dick. It's really that simple. But it's also really that complicated because your best is never good enough, right? I think we all know these feelings. But your best is always acceptable. So try your best, try some more, keep trying day after day, get up, get after it. Let's go full power. Hurrah. So I've been in that mode for like quite some time and I'm sticking to it. I'm have had some time to like step back and I've had some time off of grind mode to to develop some of my own pursuits. And so basically I've been down in my small rural corner of Anywheresville, Colorado, um, doing my thing and getting after it. I got a little gym membership, and I'm up in there every darn day, watching the sunrise out the window of the gym, and it's awesome. I feel great. And yeah, and then I'm spending a lot of time at home learning. I'm learning as hard as I can, basically developing some skills that are going to take me to where I need to go. And I encourage for you to learn as hard as you can too. And I've learned a lot about the world, and most of the things I want to know about, I know about. Like and I came to this place where you realize that the mainstream world is all a darn scam, and we're gonna have to roll up our sleeves and do it our darn self. So whether that means and even the prospect of like make a business and all that stuff, great, yes, but we have to defeat this Federal Reserve institutionalized theft system. It has to be defeated soundly and with certainty. Asset-backed currency, et cetera, et cetera. We'll get into that part of the discussion when we get towards financial literacy. All right, so we're going to create heaven on earth. That's happening. So that's what it is. If you don't want to be part of that, then sucks to suck. Sucks to suck, loser. Forgive me for my energy. I'm enthusiastic. I'm putting out good vibes. Like, we're doing it. Yes, please. So I'm gonna come at you with that enthusiasm, take it or leave it, like me or don't. This week's theme is, I guess, not giving a fuck. So that's why I'm here. Yeah, 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 yeah. Love me or hate me, don't care. Within that realm, there's 4 major focuses I want to bring onto my webcast each week. The first one is sovereignty, personal and political. Sovereignty, freedom, freedom to be your best selves, freedom to live your best life as you choose, the pursuit of happiness enshrined in the Declaration of Independence. Both spiritual and political sovereignty. And I talk about this every darn week, and I love having this conversation. Let's have it in a deep and detailed, nuanced way. Yes, please, all day, send it. I think the American States Assembly is the way to go. Correct your status, return to the land and soil. Law stands for land, air, water. Most people are in the jurisdiction of the water: commercial, commerce, maritime, mar, jurisdiction, and they don't know it. They've been shanghaied off of land into this corporate U.S. citizen or citizen of the U.S. status, municipal or territorial, and they don't realize it. And so they're getting pulled into court on all these statutory infractions and so forth, where there is no flesh and blood victim. And a lot of people are losing their lives and spending time in prison because of this, and it's stupid. Nonviolent drug offenders should, if no victim, no crime. Basically all offenders of every stripe where there's not a flesh and blood victim should be released from prison immediately. If there's not a flesh and blood victim, now there is, of course, room for common law courts, and there's room for facing your accuser and trial by jury, and all these things are awesome. Like, if someone does wrong you, and you are able to take them to a court and look them in the eye and say, hey, you wronged me and you've refused to make it right, so I had to take you to court and get judged by a jury of your peers who are also Americans in proper standing on the land and soil. That's great. That's the way the system's supposed to work. That's a wonderful judicial branch, example of a functioning judiciary. Wonderful. That's great. But the way they have it set up now is bullshit. Complete, utter bullshit. And I've had enough, and I'm not going to fucking gild that turd anymore. And it's been that way for some time, but I'm also not going to put up with anybody who's trying to defend it. Fuck you for that. Love you as a person, but fuck that tact of trying to support a system that is architecturally corrupt, that was designed to be corrupt and is designed to thieve and steal and manipulate and coerce, etc., etc. Mark Passio, he does his podcast on Sunday as well. Don't everyone rush over to his channel at the same time. All of my 0 people in the room right now. Um, but he does a podcast. I was listening to it last week. He's good. He's great in some ways. Uh, yeah, I like Mark Passio. But anyway, he was talking about the 7. Um, he was talking about like the 7 like great crimes, or like, it was a different play on the 7 deadly sins, and he was saying like the 7 crimes are like murder, theft, rape, assault, and then it was also like coercion and manipulation, et cetera, et cetera. What's up, brother? What's up, Luke? How you doing, my man? Welcome to the stream. We having a colorful ass time today, so I'm just going on. Just getting onto the introductory stuff. We're talking about sovereignty a little bit. I was saying how basically land and soil jurisdiction, common law, courts of our peers are all wonderful ways of conducting law, but this maritime admiralty statutory bullshit where people spend their lives in jail and there's no flesh and blood victim is awful, and it needs to end immediately. And in my opinion, the best way to do that is for people to correct their status, American States Assembly, reconstruct our constitutional republic, etc., and so forth. And we can go like deeper into that. All crimes that are tried in these U.S. statutory courts are commercial crimes. And basically, we have a right to face our accuser. And if there's not a flesh and blood living man or woman who's been harmed by our actions, then there is no action in the court and needs to be dismissed. So that's how that goes. The other topics I like to cover on this channel is mysticism and esotericism, basically how we can use our spiritual sovereignty to preempt the political issues that we deal with, and we can just be full power, awesome, and we can use our vibe to counteract all these things that people are trying to do. And so basically, I strive to live a cruelty-free lifestyle in all my choices, etc. I think it's basically this idea of paying taxes so they can send more military support to countries, that instead of fixing our problems at home, and all of the kickbacks and paybacks that are attached to all that stuff, that we have to counteract it with basically spiritual self-awareness and knowledge and so forth. So I like to go deep on like esoteric stuff. Would be very happy to talk about psychedelic stuff, adventures of all different kinds, all that sort of stuff. Very pleased. I've had a number of adventures along the way, and I'm pleased to share. The third thing that I talk about that I usually save towards kind of the end of the discussion, and I'll get to eventually. Right now, I'm just chugging along, doing my stream this way until I figure out a better situation. But at some point, I'm going to get the streaming software. I might even have to get a new computer that's fast enough to run streaming software effectively. But I'd like to be able to share my screen and like pull up various resources, etc. And the third leg of my show is financial preparedness and literacy. Basically, with this Federal Reserve System, deterministically going to zero because it's not backed by anything useful, those of us that are paying attention, should be prepared, basically. And so I talk about easy mode is get your hands on physical silver and hang on to it. And more nuanced take is to talk about cryptocurrency and blockchain and like what means of exchange in the future are going to look like, which I've been diving into pretty deep lately. I'm actually working on a program for the Darrow blockchain, privacy blockchain. I'm learning Golang, and I'm doing some programming with that, and just kind of diving into the guts of what a blockchain is, how it works, and how they can be improved and how they can improve life here on Earth. I find myself, I'm out in kind of a rural area. I'm not too far from the city. I can go into the city like on the weekends and like celebrate and go to events and stuff like that. But it's far enough that it's like, I'm not going to do that casually, sort of thing. So I find myself spending a fair amount of time just kind of out here where there's not too much going on, which is good because it gives me the ability to focus on self-development and on myself. Like I said, I've been learning a lot and striving to learn as much as I can each day. And it's really interesting when you're like, when you're aligned with something that actually you find to be useful and inspiring, um, you get to this point of like, man, I'm diving really deep into like computer programming right now. And I've taken some of it before. I've taken 2 years of computer programming. Like in the past, I did a little bit of like Java, C, JavaScript, HTML, PHP, SQL, stuff like that, but not in great depth. So I have a surface level understanding of all of those things, but not enough to really be like employable in any one of them. So I've just decided to like take this time where it's winter time and I'm you know somewhat far from the city, so there's not a lot going on, to do some self investment and develop some new skills. So I've been learning Golang lately, which is fun. I'm enjoying it. It's a fun little language, and there's a couple packages that I was able to download off of GitHub repositories for the Darrow project, which I'd like to talk about. And I'll just talk about it briefly right now. The Darrow project is really cool. So for anyone like learning about blockchain, like we're going to come to a point eventually where, and it probably will happen sooner than later, especially when regulation comes in stronger. I heard some rumblings that they're going to start uh, making it impossible to transfer from the bank any amount less than 100,000 to a crypto exchange, basically shutting everyone out of crypto that can't spend more than 100,000 on it, which is awful, stupid. And this whole thing of like fiat on and off ramps into crypto needs to be fixed. Like, I have tried several different routes to keep it Monero. What's up, brother? Welcome to the room. I'm just about to go into a little discussion about privacy coins. I hold some Monero. I think Monero is a good coin to hold. In particular, right now, I've been learning Golang because I am writing a project for the Darrow decentralized architecture contest. So I'm writing a little bulletin board system for this Darrow project, and it's actually a lot of fun. And just like very simply, like the thing about Darrow that I like is that it has homomorphic encryption. Which what is that? There's a couple different ways that people do encryption on the blockchain. The one that so people are familiar with Monero, which actually I need to dive deeper into and understand it a bit better. It's basically, in my understanding, it's similar architecture as Bitcoin, but with the ability to keep things private. I'm not sure if it is privacy native or if you have to flag certain things that you want to be private or not, if everything is private or if it's kind of up to you to choose what is and what isn't private. But I've been kind of starting to get a bit deeper into this. For context, like Bitcoin and Ethereum have basically no privacy. Everyone's wallets are public, so if you find someone's wallet ID through whatever means, and there's a lot of ways to kind of figure out who's doing what, you can know exactly what they have and what they spend it on, which causes a lot of problems, especially if we want to move forward towards a place where like businesses are being run and funded by crypto assets and so forth. Uh, so people need privacy, but at the same time, we need, there has to be some amount of transparency as well. As much as I think it's kind of a what do you call it? Kind of a straw man argument or whatever about only criminals use cryptocurrency. I don't think that's true, but at the same time, like some amount of transparency I think is important. So like the more I think about it, I think that like we're probably going to come to a point where there's a public private understanding of blockchain where certain things are public and you can kind of choose which things are public and certain things have to be public, right? And then certain things are private. It's like when you go to the grocery store and you pull out your wallet and you pull your cash out of your wallet, well, anybody that's looking at you can see how much cash you have when they see you pull it out of your wallet. And that part is public, right? But when you put your wallet back into your pocket and you go home and you know, have whatever assets you have at home, that stuff is all private and it's nobody's business, and especially with tech where, on the internet, we're sending out data and receiving data at all times in all ways. That boundary of public private becomes particularly important. Like right now, I'm streaming from the place I live, and certain aspects of my life are public right now. You can see the items that are behind me, and you can see my face and stuff like that, and these things. And so, that discussion of how much should or should not be public is an interesting one. So anyway, this homomorphic encryption is pretty cool because basically homomorphic encryption allows you to send encrypted data across the wire, and it allows you to do operations upon encrypted data without encrypting it, so that when you do encrypt it, you can check the operations that have been done, and the math basically checks out on the encrypted data the same as it does on the decrypted data. Basically, you can do same mathematical functions and proofs on the encrypted data or the decrypted data, and you get the same result. And so beyond that, it's a little bit technical for me to really know, but other than to say that that's very cool, and it's a little interesting checking out the Darrow Explorer compared to like Etherscan or whatever. Is like you don't see all the information that you're used to seeing. You're like, oh, I guess I don't know which wallet that transaction went to. I just see the transaction. Private, native, private only. Is it like a ring signature? There is like a, I think has no smart contracts though. Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm enjoying about Darrow as well, is that it has the smart contracts as well. So there's some NFTs, there's decks going, stuff like that, which I think is going to be necessary for people to do the things they want to do with this cool technology. But as far as store of value, yeah, I think Monero is cool. Like I said, I hold some Monero. I have heard that it is vulnerable to the same type of bugs that Bitcoin is, because they came out at similar time with similar ideas and similar code base going into them. For instance, I know that like Bitcoin has had two inflation bugs in its time, and I wonder if Monero is susceptible to that same thing. I seem to recall hearing someone say that Monero had an inflation bug at one point that had to be patched up or whatever. These sort of things. So the other coin that just came on my radar last week, I was watching the Defund the Matrix podcast, David Avocado Wolf on Telegram and so forth, is Epic Cash, which is also homomorphic encryption. It's also has a limited cap, 21 million, just like Bitcoin, and also Darrow is 21 million. So, this thing about limited supply, we're used to having fiat currency that inflates to infinity, or like Dogecoin or something that inflates to infinity. So people say 21 million and it never will be more, and they think that automatically implies value, and it doesn't. Like I can make a stick figure drawing of my of myself, a stick figure self-portrait, and there's only one of them in the entire world, but that doesn't make it valuable. So tooling in Epic Cash is lacking, sadly. Yeah, so I mean that's on the radar. That's the sort of thing where like you might pick it up just in case it takes off. I was looking at their promotional material. I think they've got like 3,000 followers on Twitter. I think Darrow is at like 16,000, so a bit bigger. So, small community means that still has a long way to go and could easily fail. So, and same thing. I don't know. I just right now where I'm at. I actually won in a giveaway. I won a little bit of Darrow, and so I started digging in the community a little bit more, and I saw they were doing this decentralized architecture contest, and I said, hey, that's a real good excuse to learn Golang. So that's what I've been doing. And also, it's very similar. The blockchain is like a similar but not so sprawling version of Ethereum. So like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure how exactly to use a smart contract for the BBS. Um, yeah, I'm not sure exactly how to use a smart contract for the BBS. I haven't really gotten into the DVM, the Darrow Virtual Machine yet. I was thinking to perhaps, I don't know. I'm saving that for a little bit later. Right now, I was just digging into Golang. Like I said, I was using this DARC contest as a reason to learn Golang, and also just because I was playing around with the Darrowsphere um, plugin for Darrow, using some of the RPC settings and learning how the RPC client and daemon interact and so forth, and how they supplement the Darrow HE project on GitHub, the Darrow HE project. And I just want to learn it and read as much of that code and understand as much of that code as I can. So that was all Golang oriented. But I have looked at some of the DVM stuff and I would like to learn it a bit better. I've been considering launching or designing and then writing and then launching. So there's somewhere down the line, some kind of smart contract on the Darrow chain. Um, as far as so I have a couple ideas. There's always NFT ideas, which is a good starter place for anyone trying to do development. You know, and for me particularly, I make music, so I have been thinking about putting some of my tracks into into an NFT with a cool artistic thumbnail or whatever, and just releasing music that way. So right now, so basically the way I'm writing it is I'm just writing it as a Go program. I'm using the Graviton database uh, program, which is released and supported by the Darrow team. And so basically I'm just doing it like that, just like having a username, password, login, and then having you be able to pick a channel that you want to talk on, and then be able to post your messages onto that channel and see other people's messages, and then do various other things. I'm trying to make it so each username has its own inbox, so you can do direct messaging as well. And then the specs for the contest say that it needs at least 2 multiplayer plugins. So I'm thinking something simple like tic-tac-toe and random number guessing game, something like that. And then writing it. So I guess I'm learning. This is my first Go program. I did when I learned before. I learned Java and I learned C. So I learned C at a pretty low level. So I remember our first couple weeks of class we were doing bitwise manipulation and stuff, and looking at mem registers and stuff like that. And I remember just feeling in the weeds real bad and just getting my ass kicked a lot. But having that foundation has really helped me get up to speed a lot faster than I otherwise would have. Having said that, my last week or two, I've spent a lot of time just bleary-eyed, staring at the screen, wondering why my code isn't working. And there's just so much bushwhacking in getting a program to work. So I guess I'm using the Graviton database just because it was provided by the Darrow team, and it like I said, it would be a good excuse to learn. So I'm just learning. I also was messing around a little bit with GORM-based databases, and I've been my next project is going to be a website of some sort. So I've been looking at some MERN stack stuff with MongoDB as well. But I guess the way I'm going to do it, and I'm doing it right now, so I'm kind of figuring it out as I'm talking and as I'm working through it. But is to when you fire up the program, you read the messages, you retrieve them from the server, and then you write your messages, and then at the end of your session, it basically commits a new snapshot to the database, and then I guess you write it to the blockchain. I was talking with Apollo on Apollo. He's running the Darrow Programmers Bootcamp, and He has his channel over on Odyssey, and I was talking to him about basically what would be the best way to do data storage. Um, I guess, I mean, I could set it up, at least in the interim, to just serve the files from my own computer or from my local node, because I do have a Darrow node synced. Um, but I guess maybe just like, yeah, I mean, I guess each time you go to close down the, when you access the BBS, and you do your thing, and each time you go to close it down, you just commit a new snapshot to the blockchain. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure it out. But the advice that Apollo was giving was basically like, you know, uh, as much of the files as you can, keep it local, and because you want to do as few writes to the blockchain as possible. So I don't want to be like every time someone's writing a post or a message that they have to write to the blockchain. You can imagine like, on Ethereum, if you want to do a BBS, and you're having to pay $10 every time you're doing anything. Like, seems like Ethereum gas is getting expensive again. I saw someone say they paid $26 for a Uniswap um, yesterday, and that is completely outrageous. And that makes me somewhat bearish on Ethereum in general. It's like, yo, people cannot afford that, and people need to get off of centralized exchanges. We saw what happened with FTX. So like, what's going to happen to crypto if they can't scale it appropriately? I know they're trying a lot of stuff, and they got sharding somewhere on their roadmap, but like, we need it now. Like $26 for a swap in a mostly bearish market is not acceptable. Yeah, I heard there's a new DEX. What is it? Do you have a link to it? I think I messed around on darrowdex.net. I made a swap. Is there a new different one? Yeah, I'd be interested to check that out. We got the new Ingram release coming up. I was reading the release notes on that, and it looks very interesting. Like, Darrowdex is at AMM. Is that different? Is there this new DEX? Is it something? Darrow Suite is an exchange. You can swap on Darrowdex. So when you're saying Darrow Suite is an exchange, does that mean it's like an exchange, like a trading platform, similar? Like, can you short on it? AMM, you have to provide liquidity. So how does Darrow Suite work then? If there's no liquidity providing, who provides the coins? Exchange, you can make an offer. Okay, so it's more like put call situation. Well, that's exciting. I'm into it. Like I said, so I mean, your name is Keep It Monero, but you're in the Darrow community, I can tell. So like, that's cool. I'm stoked on it. I think it's one of the more interesting projects in crypto that I've found. Basically, Bitcoin is Betamax in my world. Ethereum, and then there's all these EVM based chains. Is like, unless they figure out how to scale so that people can afford to use it the way it's meant to be used to do swaps and stuff, I don't get it. And that goes for all of the EVM based chains. And also they have to have privacy. Like, so the part I didn't get to that I would touch on is that Ethereum did have privacy. They had Tornado Cash. And then, they basically made it so anybody that used Tornado Cash had their wallet blacklisted, and they can't access their funds or move those funds. So they don't have privacy. Like, even though they thought they did, if you can just blacklist wallets that you don't like, that is not censorship resistant, and it's antithetical to what crypto is about. So, Ethereum has a bit of an existential crisis on their hands, in that regard, because if they can't solve those problems, like why would you invest in them? You know? So I do like playing with Ethereum. I like using Uniswap. I've enjoyed playing on the smaller Ethereum chains, the proof of work chain, ETHW, and the Ethereum Fair chain, just because like, hey, I can ETH Fair is trading at like 35 cents. Hey, you mean I can get 10 ETH or 100 ETH for 35 bucks? And then I can go over there and play around with liquidity providing and all this and that the way that it's meant to be used. Um, so I think what we're seeing is that these chains, when they become popular, they fill up pretty quickly, and then transaction fees go high, and then they chase away their customer base. So, what I'm uh, also involved in the Hex community, and so I'm looking forward to the release of Pulse Chain and Pulse X, and I think that's cool. I think Richard Harder is going to do some things. I think he's going to put out a good product for one. I think he's going to put a lot of thought into designing it well and making sure that the code is written well, and that he takes a lot of pride in Hex being 1,000+ days flawless operation, which it's a smart contract. So if it's written correctly, that should be what it is. So I think he's gonna work hard to make Pulse Chain successful, and I think this notion of horizontal scaling is useful when it comes to these EVM based chains. Why not just make more of them? Hey, there's a big line out the door of that McDonald's. Go to the one across the street, or the Starbucks. Or not that I support McDonald's or Starbucks, but this idea of franchise modeling, horizontal scaling, of like, hey, that blockchain is full and it costs you $25 to do a swap on Uniswap. Why don't you bridge over to Pulse Chain, which just launched and has no action on it yet, and you can make swaps for less than a penny, sort of thing. Or I enjoy playing around on Phantom. It's one of the more well-developed EVM chains that I've played with. But if we can have all those smart contract features with the addition of privacy on the Darrow blockchain, I think that's awesome. One of the discussions that I think is important is who is running the nodes. And I do like the Darrow model that anybody can run a node, and basically you get participation-based rewards on the block for mining blocks. I think that's cool, and I like it. I think Pulse Chain, with being supported by a lot of Hexicans who are among the more open-minded and counterculture people in the crypto community and in the global community, I think could really do something awesome if they get high quality validators. And I think that's kind of the name of the game everywhere. Like, even with a privacy chain like Darrow or whatnot, the transactions still have to be validated by someone. And like, if people get wind that there's an awesome privacy chain that's small and could pose a real threat to the hegemony of the global financial base, they would be more than happy to throw billions of dollars at it to just buy the network and shut it down, sort of thing, if they could. So, and I think they're always going to be that's a vector of attack that I think people need to be aware of, is that you got to protect your nodes, if you really want to make a difference in the world. And people have already talked about, like, Ethereum being a compromised chain, which is probably mostly true about most of the nodes having to be OFAC compliant, basically meaning that the government gets to tell them which transactions to validate or not. Provide coins to sell or buy, but you don't have to provide pairs. So it's like, if I'm getting my terminology right, it's like puts and sells. Like, you put your coins up for sale, and puts and calls. That's more of like a margin trading thing that I don't really do. But yes, I mean, someone has to provide the coin. So it's more like a peer-to-peer thing, where you list your coins and you kind of say what you want for them. And if somebody matches your price, then you make the transaction. Cool. Yeah, I haven't delved too deeply into the P2P aspect of Darrow. I've been looking mostly at the RPC stuff. You know, trying to figure out how the RPC client works and the daemon and stuff like that. But I think the P2P stuff is probably cool as well. I don't know if it runs on a different, I mean, it's all TCP layer based, I believe. It's all running off of TCP ports. So I don't know. I'm having to like brush up on all my like networking terminology and, you know, order books. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't like, you know, so like, you know, I got into crypto like I at the top in 2021, and you know, everybody wishes they would have bought Bitcoin in 2014 or whatever. So you know, but it took me a while to kind of like figure out what was going on, because like I figured like, you know, the common wisdom at the time was like, you know, buy Bitcoin and or Ethereum and hodl, and just, you know, in 10 years you'll be rich, like you're ahead of the curve. And then it turned out to not be true, and not only was it not true, but like the more I looked at the projects that were doing well, let's use an example like Solana. Like I saw Solana do really well. It went from like 20 bucks up to like 250 in the summer of 2021. And then, or like ADA went from like like a penny up to like $2.50. And and then I tried to use them. I tried to set up a wallet, and I like ADA came out with what was it called, Sunday Swap, and I tried to use them, and I went on, and it didn't work, and it sucked, and it was slow, and it didn't work. I mean, forget being slow, it just didn't work. And I'm like, this is what people are all jazzed up about, like it doesn't even work. And I started messing around with Phantom a little bit, and I said, hey, at least this works. At least I can like, you know, I was over on Spooky Swap, like messing around, you know, providing a little liquidity, whatnot. Got totally rugged by the Solidly project. Everyone's like, "Oh, this Andre Cronje, he's a visionary. He totally knows what he's doing." Rug, um, you know, whatever. And I had to step back and take a hard look at it, and I was like, "Yo, like nothing works here. Like this all sucks. Like, you know." And people are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for JPEGs of dogs, right? That are theoretically um, theoretically linked to, you know, you're buying a link that's theoretically linked to this photo, but could be swapped out by the webmaster at any time. You know, so you don't actually know what you own anyway. You know, your transactions on the blockchain, but the actual JPEG on the server is not. You know, like so none of it worked. And then I got turned on to Richard Hart, and I started watching a bunch of his older uh, webcasts and stuff, and I'm like, well, hey, this what this guy's talking about at least makes sense, you know. And you know, this idea that Bitcoin is antiquated technology and it's just not good enough. It doesn't have smart contracts. It's not likely to ever have smart contracts. It's slow. It's not good enough. Um, you know, and then I you know, I saw what he was talking about. I looked at Hex monetizing the time value of money. You know, track record. I'm a big believer of you know, if you want to be successful, find someone who's done what you want to do and do what they do. You know, so you know, the fact that he was able to design a smart contract that a token that did a 10,000x, you know, that was by design. It wasn't an accident, you know. And so it's to say that there's good game theory behind it. I looked at it. I said, hey, there's good game theory behind this. It makes sense. You're incentivizing people, you know, to be patient, etc. So and you know, within that, you know, it's also investing in people. You know, you see like, as for what people say, you know, I like everything is upside down in like clown world the last couple of years. You know, you see people listen to the mainstream news and whatnot, and they look like complete fools to me. You know, and so you got all these people saying, Richard Hart is a scammer, but at the same time, he called out, Luna, Celsius, BlockFi, FTX, all these things that did turn out to be, Ponzi's or vaporware or scams or whatever you want to call it. He called them out way in advance, called the top on the day twice, created, a 10,000x token, even though it's down 90+%, it's still very high up from where it was, so I think you got to pay attention, whether that means you're gonna buy the product and put money into it, or not. You can at least respect the message, and I think that's something that people have really showed a failure to do in the last couple of years, is to remove their emotions from hearing things that they disagree with and say, hey, I might disagree with you, but I want to understand why you have that opinion and whether that's valid. And when it came to the propaganda that we saw over the last couple of years about the thing, I have a very clear, very thoughtful list of questions that I would need to be answered, very, completely and to my satisfaction, for me to believe the mainstream story about what was going on. And none of those questions ever got answered. Why are they not on the news? They're hyping up all this fear porn, but why are they not telling people to go outside and get some fresh air and some sunshine and some exercise? Why are they not telling people about the value of green leafy vegetables and so forth? Why are they saying that the one thing, the thing is the only way to go about it without exhausting those other options, and there's a million other questions, the polymerase chain reaction test, the PCR test, was never designed to diagnose a disease, like direct quote from the guy who invented it. And this is the only test they're using to create these statistics that they're talking about, all day long, no, and I'm not emotional about it, right? Like I'm not saying I just want the conspiracies to be true, so I won't believe anything that anyone says. It's just like there's a lack of evidence. There's just a distinct lack of evidence for what they were talking about on television. And also, like I know enough about propaganda and Operation Mockingbird and stuff like that to, like, fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on me, sort of thing, to get the turn of phrase correct instead of the George W. Bush way of saying it. Let's see if I can do it. Fool me once, shame on you; fool me twice, shame on. Fool me, won't get fooled again. Oh, goodness gracious. He was such a buffoon. Still is. I couldn't believe that people didn't call it out back then, 2000. This George W. Bush guy is the clown prince of clowns. He cannot tie his shoelaces. Like, what in the world are we talking about? Like, and I guess that was just foreshadowing of what we have now, is like, the president of the U.S. corporation, Bidenstein, can't wipe his ass, sort of thing. But yet the TV watchers among the American public think he's not only competent but doing a good job, etc. It's been really enlightening to see how powerful and effective the propaganda Mockingbird media has been, and it's also extremely gratifying. I saw the Project Veritas video this week. Extremely gratifying to watch it start to crumble, and I just will dance such a wonderful jig on the ashes of Babylon. Just so wonderful, so wonderful. So yeah, I mean that's kind of like a lot to cover, and I like everything is connected to other things, so it all tends to kind of like go into different things. And I I covered a lot of things. Any of those points that I brought up, like you could dig a bit deeper into, and we could have a more focused discussion. I've been starting to have more interesting discussions with my dad lately. Like during the whole last 2 years, 3 years. I was just doing my thing. I said, hey, they can say whatever they want on TV. I'm not doing it. So that's my stance. I have, my body, my choice sort of thing. And my family had to just kind of like respect my right to bodily autonomy, and they made their choices, I made mine, whatever, whatever. But my whole thing with like my family is I've been like just on my own path for such a long time that like my best my best weapon for opening the minds of my family and my mainstream friends and whatnot is to just be awesome, because like they're like, oh, aren't you afraid you're gonna get sick if you didn't get the thing? And every time they see me, smiling and happy and healthy, and oh, I'm stronger than I've ever been. I'm more capable than I've ever been. I'm learning skills that I've never had before. My music is improving, like my, et cetera, et cetera. I'm having adventures. I'm traveling. I'm meeting cool people in cool places, et cetera, et cetera. Um, and slowly, slowly, starts to crack. You can see them fight against it sometimes. They're like, oh, I just want to judge him so hard, but it looks like he's having so much fun. Like my subconscious, my inner child, like just wants to join in. And that's for these mainstream people, their fear body is so strong, the trauma body is so strong. They have to break through the layers in order to express themselves authentically. And they've come to a point where they maybe thought they would never be accepted for authentic expression again, and that the best they would get out of life is, some toned down version where they try to just fit in and not make waves, sort of thing. And that doesn't satisfy anybody's heart, that doesn't satisfy anybody's reason for being, and so it just makes people sad, and depression and suicide and drug abuse and all those things that we see in this country and in Western culture in general, um, come along from those base repressions of what our true heart's desire is. We all want to be free. We all want to be happy. We all want honesty and justice and truth and connection. Um, and some of us have accepted this lie that life is hard and you just got to take what you can get, sort of thing. And some of us have rejected it and say, I would rather fucking die than to give up on my dreams, you know? Um, So that's where it is. That's where it is. And I'm I'm there, I'm gonna put my heart and soul into my fucking vision. Let's go. So with that, we create in heaven on earth and we're doing it, and we create in that vibe. And I'm here, you know, unicorn status, full power vibe, just to show, um, just to show what it looks like to not give a fuck what other people think. You know. I'm my best self, and I've been, you know, I've been alone on the road in the middle of nowhere with nothing but a backpack, freezing cold in the rain, far, far from home, and I still found my smile. I still found a reason to be and a reason to keep going. And we can create that vibe and we can carry it with us any darn where we go, anytime we please. And that's our magic trick. Is that fear and doubt and sadness? Those are just suggestions. Those are just those are just suggestions from the weaker part of your mind saying, hey, you know come into your fear body. It's not your fault. The world is out to get. It's there. You know they just don't understand and all this stuff. And and that's comforting. And if you're not careful, you get stuck in there your whole life. But the real part of life is saying, yes, it is hard. Yes, it does hurt. Yes, people are unfair sometimes. Yes, you were mistreated. Yes, you know, etc. Now, what are you going to do about it? You know, are you going to just give up? What kind of person are you? You know, and to look yourself in the eye and to look into your heart and say, you know what? Fuck that shit. You know, if I'm going down, I'm going down with the ship. Let's go. You know, um, and just to have that courage of conviction, and that is so powerful. It can take you anywhere you want to go in this world. Is just the will to continue and the will to keep going and to believe in yourself and to not give up and to do your best against any odds. And even when it feels like your best isn't good enough, just to it's always good enough. Your best is always good enough. And you can honor yourself, and you can look in the mirror with love and kindness and compassion. And when you give yourself that love and kindness and compassion, it gives you the fuel to be able to give it to others and to see it reflected upon you. Until you look around the world and you look, and everywhere you see is blinding goodness and courage, and you start to see the world through the eyes of a champion, you know and you know and there's humility in that, because once you come through a situation like that, and you come through a place like that, you can connect in a different way with everybody else that's struggling, and you can help them to overcome their struggles. And to be able to, I was at a place, some time ago, when I first started my travels, when I dropped out of the mainstream world and I decided to just go travel, where I was traveling and I was seeing amazing places and going to places I had always wanted to go, but yet it was still quite hollow, and I still wasn't connected with my life and my purpose. And I found myself unable to experience joy. And I would go to these places and I'd see these things, and, you know, beautiful. And I was just like lonely and, miss, disconnected and all these things. And I just couldn't feel joy. And I started to understand the value of inspiration. If you can be inspired, then you have everything that you need in life, because that will move you forward. And so, one of the greatest gifts that I have experienced is to be able to pass that on to others and to be able to give inspiration to others. And some of the best compliments I've ever received is when someone says, "Dude, you there's something about you that really, you know, makes me feel, I appreciate you, and that, you've helped me to connect with my life and find the value in it, and to do what I want to do, and to have the courage to do the thing that I know I want, that, my heart is telling me is right, but that, is hard, and that I'm scared of, and stuff like that." And, it doesn't happen that often, but the couple times that I've received that type of compliment, it's like, it means the whole world. Like, you can save lives with that. This is, it's that, you know, you can change the world with that, and we are changing the world with that. And so, anybody, anywhere, um, if you hear this message, like, on behalf of the whole world, like, we need you, and we want you, and we love you, you know, and you know, your life and your vision is valuable, and we want to see it, and we want to be a part of it, and we want to do it together, you know. And it's such a blessing to be alive. And there are a lot of challenges right now, uh, in this world, in this time, you know. And I think the best medicine is laughter, and our most powerful weapon is prayer. So laugh hard, Pray unceasingly, all the time. Give thanks. Life is beautiful. It's wonderful. It's a blessing. We're all in this together. We got this. Don't forget to smile. You know. We touched some good topics. We're rounding out an hour right now. Any last thoughts, anyone? We got you still in here? Keep it more narrow. We got one person here. If you got last thoughts, post them up. Otherwise, I'm going to sign off, and we'll check in with you next week. As I mentioned, like my intention for this space is this is an offering each week. This is my offering of my good energy to you, to inspire you and to uplift you and to encourage you to keep going, to not give up, to be your best self, to express yourself the way you want to. No fucks given, whatever, judgment-free zone, whatever. That this can be a place that you can look forward to coming each week and catching a good vibe and get filled up with goodness and give that to the world. We're going to do it, friends. We are going to make the world a better place incrementally, one day, one step, one breath at a time, until all of the problems are solved, until all of the hurts are healed, until everyone has smiles on their face and we are peaceful and happy and gardening and joyful and playing and laughing and dancing forever. And we're going to ride a massive golden submarine to the North Pole and dance around Mount Meru and hold hands and Om until we ride the astral jet up to Polaris. The Most High, Zion. Sort of vibe. So, I'll let you kind of ponder and pontificate on what I mean by that, but I think you can just take it literal if you have the courage. And there's esoteric meaning. What is this world? What is this universe? It's definitely some sort of electromagnetic quantum field, right? Sacred geometry. What are the boundaries? What is the shape? God is a infinite sphere whose circumference is everywhere and whose center is nowhere, sort of thing. I may have misquoted that, but you get the idea. Sort of vibe. And we are it, and it is us. God is in the great spirit, Jah, whatever you want to call it, the animating isness of the entire universe is in every molecule, every atom of every molecule, of every cell, of every organ of our body, at every moment, forever and always. And it can be no other way. The universe cannot exist without you being here to witness it. You are it. It is you. We are it together. It is the infinite, awesome, amazing experience of life. So with that, I will sign off. Love you all very much. Have the best week ever. And I'll catch you next week. Same groovy time, same groovy channel. What's up? Later.